Now, welcome back to live coverage of YCS London 2019. I hope you guys have had an awesome time so far. We still have 2 more matches to be played for you today. Right now, we're going to be going to round number 10. This is going to be a pretty exciting one. 2 of these duelists are playing pretty interesting decks. I hope you guys are ready for this. So, from the Netherlands, we have Doganay Cekic. And it's very complicated. Like, come from the Netherlands. We had like Nick from Popol as well on the stream. So he was playing a pretty interesting deck. Peleozoic Frost, I thought. Do you think the deck that you brought might be able to be a bit better going forward?
Compared with Peleozoic, I hope so. It helped me till now, and I'm not. I had a good decision, I guess, because it brought me here, and I hope it will bring me further. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I hope.
Okay. You seem a bit nervous. Are you okay?
Yeah. I just had a rough weekend because my voice is gone. So going to try my best to communicate, though. Very important in the game, but keep it chill, I guess. Trying to keep it chill and see what brings it. Have fun. That's important.
Exactly. That's good words to live by. So I'm not going to put more strain in your voice. Take a seat. I'll bring on the next dueler for you. And then from Germany, we have Tom Kleingräber. Hey, man. What's up? Come on in. How are you feeling today, man?
I'm alright. I'm a little bit tired, but yeah, as always.
Okay, so the extra hour didn't really do much for you, huh?
Actually not, no.
But then, did you have fun for this event, actually?
Yeah, I'm doing quite well, and yeah, it's alright.
Okay, so what made you like the... Ooh, I can't actually spoil anything about the deck you're playing. Ooh, this is going to be a difficult one. So the deck that you chose for this event, like what made you actually want to decide on it?
I playtested like each other deck, and I didn't feel confident going first and second. So I just was looking for a deck which can do both, and my deck is pretty good doing that, and that's why I chose it.
Okay, so then do you think your deck will probably be able to carry you a bit further? Because what's your standing, like X in 2, X in 1?
X2. I just lost my last round, so 2 more to go.
Oh, this is a bit tense. Like, do you think you probably might end up taking this, or what?
I don't know what my opponent is playing, but I'm pretty confident. I think I will take it, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, take a seat. A bit sportsmanship from his opponent. So now we're going to be getting the duelists ready. Hope you guys are ready. We have our casters for the match. Machado Barberi and Steven Jacobs.
Welcome to round 10 of YCS London. We got an exciting one for you guys. Both really good players missing their breakout performance on X2. So it's the first bubble match of the day. Yeah. Still a lot to follow, because let's remember it's 11 rounds of Swiss followed by top 32, which means you really need that 9-2 record to make it. Yeah. And although they come from very different countries, so Tom from Germany and Doganay from the Netherlands, they have very similar background stories. So we talked to them before the match, and although they didn't win any like huge event, they have been very consistent at their national championships, and they both lost 3 times in the top 8, which is crazy. Like so many different stories, but so many similarities. So. Yeah. Who do you think is going to have the lead?
It's the 2, can I say, odd choices for the
Absolutely.
It's not really, well, no Orchestra or the standard choices. Well, we see that the Sky Striker Draco list.
Yes.
And as we have, at least as I've mentioned before the match, the first time I saw the hybrid being ran in like a big tournament in the YCS was at Ghent a couple of weeks ago. But it bubbled out, so like losing before the top 32 cutoff. And then I think a couple of weeks after, it was YCS Fort Worth, where like 2 ended up top 8. So the hybrid is quite strong, even though I'm not a huge fan of it.
I don't know. Same. Like when I first heard about it, I wasn't too convinced. But then you can't really overlook it after YCS 4 for 2 players in the top 8 with the same deck, card by card, the deck list as well. It was unbelievable. And although now there is a big difference, which is Widow Anchor going to 1. Still, a few players are using it. I saw even players from the USA still representing the deck. It's a very strong option, and I feel like it's a very good deck at going second. But his opponent, Tom, is also using a unique strategy, Infernoid. And it's not similar to what we have seen at the European Championship with Vladis, where he played a lot of trap card, Mystic Mine. It seems like it's an old school Infernoid, using the new Monster Gate coming back to 3, which is a powerhouse card for the deck. You can mill the entire thing off.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we've seen Infernoids with the grass looks greener some time ago, and after that it kind of faded away. But now with Monster Gate and Reasoning, the deck has potential again.
It's coming back. It's coming back, and I've always been a fan. Unfortunately, he won't be able to use a lot of this removal synergy against Sky Striker Draco, but I'm very curious about these matchups. Our players are ready. Let's go to the table.
All right.
Okay.
So again, like Infernoids in this format, what do you think about it? Of course, it's very good when there are a lot of decks relying on their graveyard, like Orcus, Salamandra Greats, but he's up against Sky Striker Draco. So
and unfortunately, he also passed without playing a card.
Right.
Because as you can see, he opened double Gamma, Impermanence, and 2 useless Infernoids. So very unfortunate. Then he passed without having a play, and Doganay is gonna capitalize on it.
Usually going first, like if Infernoid is going first, what's like the desired setup, I can call it, they want to do?
So the Void Feast is by far one of the best cards in the deck. It's the trap card and searchable by Trap Trick. You usually summon 2 Decatrons with it, and you set up the board, which means you have a couple of negations, and if your opponent is able to clear your field, then you have a graveyard full of Infernoid monsters, which is very good. Well, I feel like these decks are both decent at going first, but even better at going second. That's why, as we can see, the player is going second as an advantage, but both starting things off very slowly here.
Yeah, we see all the Panker chops as well, Ignis Heat, Mystic Mine, Multi-Roll. It's no really good starter cards.
No good starter, and yet another turn passed by Tom. You really gotta wonder what each other is playing right now.
Yeah,
like
I assume both don't really know what they're up against.
Absolutely. It could be anything. I guess Subster Goblin could give his lightly away, but it's played in quite a different range of decks. Now the diagram finally coming down. We got a glimpse of how big the strategy is in Ghent, the synergy especially, because both Sky Strikers and True Draco cards, you can use, for example, the True Draco spell and traps with multi-roll on area 0, and they still trigger, so it's a pretty cool deck.
Do you think it's consistent enough? I mean, there are kind of 2 different strategies, and okay, it has been working out for a couple of players in the past, but would you pick it as like
I think I didn't actually mind it. I think it's a valid choice for this event. The only decision that I do not agree with is the Mystic Mines. I really don't think you need, especially 3 copies of Mystic Mine as Doganay is using. I feel like you use it more as a grind deck, but in that regard, I really like the deck. So, wow, another bad top deck
Harmatic.
here.
So Antra, I believe, is the level 2 that bounces. It has been quite a while. Harmatic destroys monsters, level 3.
The monsters, but finally a Decatron at least to start and play things off. But very rough start. You really want to see your spells in this deck. The Monster Gate, Reasoning, 1-for-1, all of the Lair of Darkness cards are super important. So
yeah, that's also, as you mentioned, like the Lair of Darkness, the field spell, the fact that you could, let's say, tribute away your opponent's monsters for the effects is
crazy
quite
good.
iffy. Yeah.
It's also because they all tribute as cost, so your opponent is usually not even able to activate their cards. So
as response.
Exactly. Now we see the Armatic coming back. I'm gonna try and bring it up for you guys on the screen.
It's basically a monster destroyer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. It's you can even attack or just destroy a card, and we saw a lot of players using DD Crow for this event. Well, Infernoid monsters are all pretty much DD Crows on field, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the thing. And again, that's one of the biggest strengths, if not the biggest, for Infernoid, that they have the ability to banish cards from your opponent's graveyard. But again, in this matchup, it feels a bit iffy.
Not as good. Definitely better against just a pure Sky Striker, because you can need the Ray, or you can need like engage the target for Kagari, but against this mixture, not as much.
Yeah.
But now you can try and capitalize. You need to do whatever you can. Like, there is so much waiting you can do in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And
So still in main phase.
we finally see some true Draco cards come down.
But this might actually start up his engine, right? I mean, he has the Ignis Heat to potentially search out one of the Draco spells.
Yeah. And now we get to set back a Widow Anchor, which is gonna be very good, because now also 3 spells in graveyard. So
With the most recent Forbidden and Limited list being this, Widow Anchor was put to 1, might that have been like one of the reasons why players maybe prefer this version over the regular Sky Striker?
it's possible, because you don't have as many interruptions, I guess, especially going second. At the same time, I don't quite understand this kind of situation. So I feel like when you go at the beginning of the turns, I really like the deck, but like now, you can't use your Sky Striker cards because you have a monster on the field, in the... So we're gonna see. But finally the Monster Gate is picked up. So is he gonna mill like a lot? Let's see.
I remember when, like years ago, when Infernoids were splashing Christia, Archler Christia, just to mill it off top very unexpectedly. So let's see if
There
he's
it
lucky.
is. How many cards is it gonna mill? And now even the Gamma to stop the Ignis. This is incredible. It gets rid of the driver from the deck, which is also a card you really don't want to get with the Monster Gate. So this could be a turnout of events. Let's see, because honestly, outside of the Gammas and 2 are already gone, I don't think there is anything else he can summon in the deck.
Yeah,
just the
otherwise-
Decathlon.
Yeah,
so
the Decatrons, yeah.
we could see a lot of mills here. Obviously, some randomness involved, but how many cards is he gonna mill? Let's see.
That's the one of Void Feast. He's only playing one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, only the one. So there he
Nuku
goes.
with
Some
Thunder.
Inferno already pretty good, to be fair. All of the layers are... Yeah, because the Gamma as well you can. So this is going to be just incredible. Look
There
at
it
this.
is.
Wow.
Okay.
It's basically a grass, as you were saying.
Yeah. I think it's fine, though. I'm not really sure how many Infernoid monsters there were revealed. We saw a Nunku, a Tondol, Deviati as well. Like 4 or 5?
Quite a few, but you still lower your deck, and quite impactful, because the Decathlon is also very powerful.
Yeah.
You have the Gamma and driver that can push for damage and turn into an Omega potentially. Let's not forget that Doganay has a super polymerization face down, but it's tough to find the target in this matchup, I would say. One of the weakest cards.
And also one of the things I definitely like about Infernoid is that it kind of feels like the Dragon Rulers in some way, that their graveyard is basically their second hand. You know, it's
And especially after the release of Link Masters, like back in the day, the problem is that you can't summon if you have level 8 or more on the field, but the Links are not leveled, so you can easily get rid of them and exploit basically your combos.
especially with Boral Sword. Boral Sword and with something else, you could easily
Very
go for
scary,
nothing.
absolutely. He's considering the super poly, but I'm really wondering what can he have as target. Let's check real quick. Maybe the Swamp?
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if he was playing that
Yeah,
card.
Mud Dragons
I
doesn't
think
seem...
he's only using the Starving Venom, so at the moment he's not gonna be able to use it. So considering the Widow Anchor, maybe to negate the Decathlon, but it seems very subpar at this point. Yeah, he does. He's gonna get banished, and now Tom free to do whatever he wants. He obviously has to play around the last back row, but
you could go for Omega. He does play that, right? It should be in the extra deck.
in the
pretty
list.
stable.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So
So that's cool. We could go for... We saw a Deviati, I think, as well in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Onunku. Going for a Tondol maybe first.
let's see which one he wants to summon. It's not impossible that he also tries and push a lot of damage here.
So there is the
And
Atondal.
yeah, the Atondal is there.
Okay.
Link summons. Yeah. Ooh, because the Ignis is also a Fire Master, so you can get it back. That's very cool. Yeah.
Right. It's either Ash Blossom or, in this case, being the Ignis.
Yeah, you can get the Ignis back. Was it better to just summon before an Infernoid, or? Okay, still going for a Link summon. It's also cool that in this deck you can use the Ita very easily, so taking away cards like Kagari, Ash Blossom to just like keep on making your Link Masters stronger.
He might go for game.
This is the Crusadia Equimax, so it's getting scary if you are Doganay.
But there's still the Super Poly set, right?
Yeah, but can he really use it? No? I don't see any Dark Master at the moment, so I don't think he's going to be able to, and it seems like Tom knows what he's doing very well, and it has been a weird one, to be fair. This is going to be a lot of damage.
Right. Plus the double attack, right, from Atondal.
Yeah, that's why the Atondal is such a scary card. We're going to show you guys, but basically he can just make a second attack in a row once he destroys, and this is gonna be more than enough. So incredibly slow end from Tom, but he found his way around it, and it seems like he will be able to take this. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think there is anything that could do.
Yeah.
And Tom takes game one very, very convincingly. Wow, what a game. I really didn't expect that. He passed turn for like 4 turns. Like,
yeah, we've seen both players' hands, and they were like both not that fantastic of going first.
Yeah.
And I mean, they both really wanted to go second. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, they both didn't have the best start, but I really thought Doganay could have taken it. Maybe it was too conservative with that diagram at the beginning, and now I think it's looking better for Tom because it's easier, and you know the deck because, as you were saying, it performed very well recently. Well, Infernoid is not on the map at all, so I think Doganay is going to be in trouble. Like, what do you even side deck here?
Yeah, we see that Tom is side decking the Trap Trick. We see Red Reboot. We see Dimensional Barrier as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Probably, yeah, for the Pendulum and Thunder Dragon matchup, but yeah, not that
No,
conventional.
not for this particular matchup. Evenly matched?
Yeah.
Evenly matched, maybe?
Here, I think it's also a matter of who is going first.
Yeah.
They kind of both want to go second, so how do you side deck in this kind of situation? Like, for Doganay, I would expect him to probably board the Solemn Judgments, because they can stop the summons from the Infernal Monsters. But like, for example, Soul Drain doesn't work that way, because they're not effects.
Right. Summoning conditions.
Yeah. So he definitely gonna side out those super polymerization because he opened twice and that card didn't do anything for the entire match.
Yeah, you see that he's really not prepared for the Inferno.
I mean,
should you prepare?
Can't blame him,
indeed.
yeah.
Should you prepare for the Inferno matchup?
But I think the most interesting thing will be if these guys will still choose to go first, or now that they know what their opponent is playing, just go second. Also, we see a Sanctum in the deck at the moment. It might be because there are so many ways that your opponent is going to destroy your spell and trap that
Exactly.
you don't use it for the side, but you just use it as a disruption.
So, yeah, some bait
Yeah.
options. Yeah.
It seems like they're almost ready with the side decks, so let's see. I really like going second, I would say, but it's close.
What do you think for Sky Strikers? Like your for today, do you see it like going good in top 32, top 16, top 8, or what do you think?
I think it is probably one of the underdogs for the event, but there are quite a few famous players using it, so it changed a lot. So now it's more of a troll deck, which was always, but more on the trap side. So I saw everyone using at least 6 to 10 traps in the decks, which is something you really didn't see in the past year. But again, very successful this weekend
And
for now.
the fact that they opted to main deck more traps, was it to somewhat solve the loss of Widow Anger?
For sure they needed it because it was the main layer of protection that the deck had. So they felt they needed a way to not basically die, because the rest is the same. You still can search for like double engage very easily, but you just need not to die right away.
Exactly.
And now let's take a look at these hands. Looking kind of shaky for Doganay. I'm really interested in seeing who is going to start, especially because Tom really didn't get his things going, but if you think about it, once you leave a Link Monster on the field, they also have the so-called Shadow Fusions for Infernoid, which is the Imagination,
Yeah, Imagination
which
indeed.
is so strong. And I think that's what happened. So Doganay realized it, he made Tom go first, and once more he just passed on an empty board. So can he now capitalize on it? That's my main concern.
Double Apocalypse though.
Yeah.
Hercules base as well. Area 0, Ray. That's a good one.
Ray is a really good a really good draw. And the Area 0 could also fish for a lot of cards. He's starting things off with set rotation though, which is interesting. I guess the diagram is very important, but it's also a nice synergy of the deck. Set rotation, one of the best cards, because as you can see here, you can give your opponent the 0, and then you can destroy it with one of the True Draco spells, and you get a Ray for free, which is pretty good deal.
Yeah, very similar strategy to some time ago, like Cosmo True King. Like when set rotation was at 3, giving your opponent Cosmo down, that should work, right?
Exactly.
And yeah, basically the same strategy.
Yeah.
Just use Slip Rider to pop your opponent's field spell or your own field spell that you gave to your opponent and get a search. Basically more pluses.
Yeah, I'm just slightly concerned that this is gonna work out right away, because the problem is he cannot use the Area 0 now, because there is a face down spell monster. So I was like, shouldn't he have started with that? Because now he needs to draw something to be able to destroy it with the Heritage, and it seems like he could have done a lot more. And
No
another
Ray.
Ray is not what he was looking for, so kind of shaky play on his side. Also, because he would have had one more spell engraved, which meant he could have engaged for free. I think it was a little too fast on the set rotation, but still should work out in the end. Let's see.
Hayate for some extra damage.
And I think this particular version of the deck also solves one of True Draco problems. So it is a very strong rogue deck, but in time it often loses.
All right.
But if you mix it up with Sky Striker cards, we all know how good those are when time is cold. And it fixes one of the main problems for True Draco. I really know that a lot of people struggles and get like a lot of draws with the deck when playing. Yeah. But yeah, you can see now, engage comes down, but it could have been an engage for free.
For 3, yeah, it could have been.
Very easily, and now it is not gonna be. Especially because, sure, you can use multi-roll to destroy Heritage and the field spell from your opponent, but that's not very good. Because you already have the access to Ray. So, yeah, we're not gonna see the best opening here.
Shizuku for the end phase search. Yeah, basically standard plays.
Yeah, he's gonna be able to shuffle back the Kagari at least, but not the greatest. At least he has the Apocalypse, which he can use both to destroy a card, possibly the Imagination, if his opponent doesn't leave something face up. But we do know that the Imagination is there, and at the moment, I don't see a way to stop it.
Yeah. Maybe he's not really like prepared, or knows the Infernoid matchup. That might be a thing.
Could be, and it's fair enough, to be honest. It isn't a deck that's recent, first of all. It was released a lot of years ago, and it's not popular at all. So very few players, I would bet, could actually know the deck very well for this event.
Right.
Okay, so now at least he gets the Widow Anchor set, but again, Imagination is gonna come down, it's gonna send like 6 Infernoids in the graveyard.
That's the thing, that's the thing.
That's gonna be
Really
a
rough.
blowout, yeah. Okay, so Decathlon is the first move, trying to force out that Widow Anchor.
This is a much better opening than compared to
Oh,
in general, much better.
Much better, and I'm gonna bring the card for you guys on the screen. Here you can see literally a Shadow Fusion. You can send a lot of Infernoids from your deck, and you can summon the Tierra from the extra deck, which is a big beater. So one of the best cards by far for this deck. Even the 1-for-1, I don't think you would wish for much more for an Infernoid opening. So, and I really like the way he played it, because like last turn he still had access to double Decathlon, but he understood that against Sky Striker they're not gonna kill you right away. So you can just chill and pass.
So what could he possibly send here? Like, could we see Deviati maybe? Onunku are probably the two.
It depends on what. Yeah, you can destroy a face down, because like at the moment there is only an unknown one. So he really wants to figure that out, because he wants to resolve that Imagination. He knows that if Imagination resolves, the game is not over on the spot, but like very good for him. So.
Yeah, his engine is basically set up. His graveyard is a second hand, and he can, I believe, send up to 6 Infernoids from his deck to the graveyard.
And as you can see now, Tom is pretty happy with this. He doesn't really care about the Apocalypse. But very well played by Doganay here.
He does know.
He does know. We were doubting him, but this is a very heads-up play. So he destroys his own Sky Striker, so that now the Imagination is not alive. This is a brilliant play. Wow. Really showing why he is one of the better players from the Netherlands. This is a play I don't think many people will have done.
Yeah.
And now it's tough, because the Imaginations are essentially useless cards, aren't they? So. Yeah, Patrulea is now once per turn. Of course, he was asking the confirmation, but none of those are. Phoenix gonna come down, but
there is
not a great one though.
Yeah, it doesn't really do.
Especially because the Kagari is back in the extra deck, so now you can engage for free again. And nice. I really liked what Doganay did. Nothing to say.
Yeah, the game would have been much different, and probably we would have lost if he left the
for sure.
The link. Yeah,
you can see that Tom was able to clear most of his stuff, but now he picks up even the True Draco, and I think this is gonna be such a great turn for Doganay. But really props to him. He played that brilliantly last turn. So now he's free to do whatever he wants. I think he can even potentially OTK, thanks to like a Shark Cannon, taking that, Bora's Word, and even the True Dragon on top. So it shouldn't be too complicated.
Tom is left at 6k, so that.
Yeah, that's why it's not. Oh, and he picks up the diagram as well.
Oh.
It's getting almost too unfair at this point.
He's playing really fast as well, so he really seems like keen on his choices.
And these Area Zero, which they're
not really sure.
Okay, they allowed it. Okay, never mind. I was about to say I'm not sure if they will allow it, but it seems like they're having a friendly environment at this point, and this is the really good synergy of the deck. He could have summoned a Ray from deck at this point if he wanted.
Yeah.
He's considering it, but he's probably just gonna normal summon the one he already has.
Right.
Again, kind of considering what he's doing, because I feel like he could have done more than this, but
he only plays 2 Ray, I think.
Yeah, you
indeed.
don't play free in
course.
this kind of mixture, so he drew the second one and had to do what he could. Okay, so he goes again for a very conservative play, maybe too much at this point. I'm not sure if I like that particularly, but
that's Vanishment, I think.
Vanishment.
So you can discard like basically any card, if I'm not mistaken, to search out any void cards.
But do you like that he basically didn't use the diagram at all? Like, it's kind of weird for me.
Yeah.
Still good spot because he's essentially playing the way you were playing against Shadows back in the day, like never leaving an extra deck monster on the field, and he's now gonna have to deal just with the Void Feast, which is a lot more doable. So let's take a look. Again, considering that he could have done more with it.
He's drawing, that's not really too optimal, like drawing the, he's playing a full package, right? A full package of the true Draco traps, so triple Apocalypse and one
Yeah,
return.
and the only one return, now we will get a draw with the Disciples, which is pretty good, because then with the diagram and average 0, as you can see, once this deck keeps going, all of the synergy comes together, and time is also starting to be a concern, because this game is looking like it's Doganay, and if we go to game 3, then Tom is in trouble. Also, because I think he already used 2 of the Decatrons, right? So he cannot. Oh no, he actually used all of them. Yeah, because he went for the 1-for-1 and 2.
Oh, right.
So this Void Feast is very underwhelming. He's gonna get even one more card for the Ignis, and
I guess basically some extra stall cards, monsters to stall.
Nothing too special, and that's it. Just an Otondo, which doesn't do anything at the moment. You can easily destroy it with the Apocalypse if you pop it, basically with diagram. And
exactly. So the game seems over.
Yeah, the game seems pretty much locked for Doganay, but
who knows?
Yeah, you
We've
really
seen yesterday. You shouldn't be too quick, right? With like top decks, impermanence, as we saw yesterday.
Never, and. The only thing that I'm concerned about, as I was saying, is time. If I was Tom, I would probably really consider picking my cards up, just because those games take a while, and we have seen that between the two, the one that's the faster at dealing damage is by far Doganay's deck. So this might just be enough here. Yeah, and. Not sure. What do you think he's waiting for?
I have no clue. Probably more information, or I don't know, doesn't realize there's like under 15 minutes left?
Possibly. I mean, he's on stream, maybe he doesn't want to give up, and he is soon enough. I don't know, it was slightly confusing to me. He could have stayed at least 2 minutes, so hopefully this decision of not scooping up earlier is not going to cost him the match, but 14 minutes might be enough, to be fair. And now we're going to see a game 3, and as I was saying, once more the big decision will be who is going to go first, who is going to go second, because both of these guys were just passing turns blind when going third. So I think Tom is going to pick second. Do you agree?
Of course. I don't see, especially with how strong of a card like Imagination is, even though we've seen that Doganay is definitely prepared for this, for like the Shadow Fusion effect. But again, I don't see Infernoids going first.
Same, I really don't think so. And here is where the adds-up play can come from Doganay, siding in the Solemn Judgments, which he didn't put in, of course, because he was going second. I really would like those to come in here, even though time is close, so at the same time you really don't want to pay 4,000, but it could be enough, because if you use it on like the big Infernoid play or on the Imagination, then you can shut down your opponent entirely.
Yeah, the thing is that, as you've mentioned in the beginning as well, like we've seen Infernoids at, was it Euros or YCS Ghent with Ledis?
Yeah.
And he was playing like, again, like a lot of traps, Dynamysticus at 3, and I believe Void Feast as well at 3. So that might be one of the reasons why, or when Infernoids maybe could go first, have those interruptions and relying on Void Feast during your opponent's turn.
For sure, that was a lot more consistent. He had Lilith as well, so that deck was very good at going first, but also good at going second. This time, Tom's deck is very different. I feel like going first, it's so weak. Unless he opens probably the Monster Gate, I don't see any very good openings from him.
Yeah, he does have like the Lair of Darkness to potentially do stuff during his opponent.
It's probably better going second than going first, right?
Yeah.
because it's a -1 kind of, like it stays on the field without doing much for you. So let's see. And once more, it's going to come down to those key decisions. Let's not forget the Metaverse plus Mystic Mine is also an option for Doganay. And I don't see any real out in the deck for Tom for that.
Has he already seen like a Mystic Mine? Has Tom already seen a Mystic Mine?
Saw it in game 1 by being like discarded, but it was never really activated. So I don't know. That could be a decisive factor as well. Because if you stall with Mystic Mine and then you do, for example, on a Yate, you start doing some damage, that can be a way to win it. Well, let's see. So
some nice
Metaverse is there, so we might see that Mystic Mine come down. And Dark Lure no more. Wow.
That's an interesting one. Okay.
That's very strange, especially because you should expect your opponent to let you start.
We see basically a full monster hand for Infernoid, like form and terraforming as well. Entra, Petrulia, Harmodic. Oh, that doesn't look really too great.
Same for Doganay's hand, nothing's good. Metaverse, though, it's one of the best cards he could have had, and even one more Infernoid for Tom, who might be in trouble here. I don't see any out to the Mystic Mine. And 11 minutes remaining, so still plenty of time, but he might not have even an out in his deck. Do you see it? Like in the side deck?
Really nothing.
I don't think he sides any outs for Mystic Mine.
Sides evenly matched. No, nothing. Yeah, there's a thing,
Yeah,
right?
it's tough.
He might have had a glimpse of the Mystic Mine in the main deck. Maybe you could expect it. You should expect it in a Sky Striker matchup.
But how do you play around it still?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Really, unless I'm missing something, which could be the case, but like all of the Infernoids can't really tribute themselves on their mind, right? So
no monster effect.
Yeah,
you can't take
so
it.
It's not like you can use the cost and then...
So like with skill ring.
Yeah. So let's see. It's still going to be a close one. I really don't like the Dark Lure no more from Doganay. It was kind of obvious to me that your opponent would have let you start, and even if they didn't, I don't feel like it's that great against it. But no...
Yeah, he's taking damage. Okay, that's an interesting one.
Did he side it out, the Mystic Mines? That would be very strange. Game changer. Or maybe he doesn't feel like he's threatened here. But you really don't want to take the damage, right? So... doesn't use it, and he picks up the Ray, which is pretty good one. At the same time, he will now have to be careful, because when he puts a card in his graveyard, your opponent can use the Lair of Darkness efficiently, but the Dark Lure will no more does come in handy here.
Right, in this case it definitely works out,
Yeah, so... one of the new promos comes down, not the most popular one. You usually see it sided for decks like Pendulum or Guard Dragons, but it does work here. And we're probably going to see a Metaverse using, probably on the offensive side, for a diagram, I would say. And...
could he tribute? Can he tribute the, especially after Dark Ruler no more?
Yeah,
does it prevent
effects? You can chain to it, but then it just negates the effects, but you can still use it.
Right.
And also something important to take into consideration is that your opponent does not take damage for the rest of the turn. So he doesn't have to take too much time, because otherwise this is also a part of an effect that maybe you don't really pay attention to.
Right, it's the same as Guard of the Mice, right?
Yeah.
It's something that people tend to forget. Oh, activate Guard of the Mice, set everything first, Guard of the Mice, go to the battle phase, try to do damage, and then your opponent is like, no, you activated Guard of the Mice.
That can definitely be a big deal, and hopefully Doganay doesn't forget about that effect, because even with Ayate, this is gonna be a close one.
I think they're...
Do you agree with the decision of using the Metaverse like kind of offensively? Like, it is working out.
Yeah, depends, right? Depends if he's still main-necking the Mystic Mine. If he didn't side it out.
Yeah. Oh, and he still plays this very conservatively. He could have done a lot going for like a Yate and then Kagari, but he's still playing around the imagination, which was picked up now by Tom. So
Is he playing a bit too carefully? Especially
I
now
think
with,
so, to be
with,
fair.
little-
Because like you could have done a lot more. Like even if you just like once you have the diagram online, what I don't like is that you have access to tribute summon every turn, so you can go for cards like Hagari, get some advantage, and then just tribute summon.
exactly.
But maybe he wants to hold that because he has a trap, so he can
Mm-hmm.
destroy a monster. But still, maybe a little too conservative here.
That's another Petrulia. Yeah.
He's gonna think about that because, of course, he can destroy the diagram, and you really don't want that to happen. So,
Right.
as expected, we are gonna see Dynamite to come down, which is especially good here because it gets the Apocalypse down, which means that if your opponent is gonna commit to the board, then you have even a disruption in the form of Disciples.
Right.
Still, though, I was thinking, it's like,
Ooh, this is strong. No, that's Deviati, right? So Deviati.
yeah, Deviati, the basically Heavy Storm
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But you can use the Dynamite, and then at resolution, you're gonna destroy it, right?
Indeed. Yeah.
Unless your opponent decides to use the second effect. Okay, he does.
Yeah.
And why is he Shining Ray? What? I'm confused right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because this could cost him the game. I don't understand why, unless he's... Because, like... Oh my god, this could cost him the game.
Tom,
because the imagination is there. Like,
yeah.
I'm...
Wow.
Why
okay.
would you change
Yeah,
it?
that's.
This is game changer. Wow.
Maybe was he like, well, my opponent has only one card in his hand. What are the chances? Or
Yeah, but I don't understand. Like, there was no reason to do it there. Because, like, your opponent used the Deviati, sure. You chain the Dynamite, they chain it to banish it. Like, Ray can stay there.
Yeah.
It's not like your opponent is using... Like, if you would have used the Onunku
Yeah.
to nuke the board, then you can chain it. It makes sense. But
Yeah.
I really don't understand why he did. And this is actually potentially going to cost him the game. And what an unfortunate turnout of events here.
And as we have seen in the previous duels, he was always playing around the imagination, and now, yeah, I don't know.
It happens. I mean, the nerves gets to you.
That's true.
Honestly, when you kind of outplay your opponent, you're left on one card, you're probably thinking, okay, I finally did it. It's my day, I'm gonna win and probably go to the top cut. But you got a little too excited there, and one misplay can cost you the entire match. And unfortunately, it seems like this is what's gonna happen here.
So sending a couple of cards from the extra deck to the graveyard.
Yeah, which is great because you can destroy your own fusion so that you free your levels, let's say. And the thing is that Doganay is top decking, so I don't see a way out of this.
This might be game or
Wow,
very
that's
close to.
very heartbreaking, to be fair.
That's which one? That's not Seistemas?
Yeah,
That's,
yeah. It's
Seistemas?
the one you get with
Shetty.
Shetty, yeah,
Shetty, yeah.
because you need it for the level with the double deck attack.
Right.
Yeah, I am kind of speechless, to be fair. Like,
It's
I
yeah, as you mentioned, it might have been the nerves again, like from people watching here, and they if they already have like experienced the feature match at the YCS, people watching the feature match, people watching the stream, like the judges watching your table. It's getting
it's a lot.
Yeah, it's
a
a lot of things, and you want to do well. You don't want to make mistakes. So those are all like hidden things that could influence you as a player and your choices.
And now Tom is playing very well. He summons the Onunku so that he can negate even a top deck engage, which could have been the only way back into this game for Doganay. And I don't really see a way out of this. Very unfortunate. Again, I really don't understand why that went down this way. It was his game all around, and even now there are 3 minutes remaining. Tom not only gonna have a huge lead in amount of cards, he's gonna have a huge lead in life points. So seems like Infernoid will be the deck that will advance here. Well, let's just take a look at the last row from Doganay.
And true Draco Striker isn't really the best deck at top decking, and we have like the true Dracos isn't really that fantastic of. top deck.
You can draw the engage, but again,
Yeah.
here, not gonna work against the Onunku, so... Very unfortunate moment here.
So any cards he maybe could top deck to still stay in the duel, or we see a spell, not to be sure which one.
I don't think so, and he's smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. The handshake comes down, the crowd goes crazy for Tom. Either way, they were really good fan favorites, but as you can see, the crowd going crazy. Really good match. Again, one of the unfortunate ones.
I mean, as I've mentioned, he has been playing around the Void Imagination like twice, a couple of times in Game 1 and Game 2.
I think he had brilliant plays. Like overall, like, Game 1 was the weirdest, I think, because they both kind of bricked. They were passing for like 3 or 4 turns each. But in the end, Tom waiting it out, not showing what he was playing was also very important. And finally, just like completely OTKing his opponent. But Game 2, Doganay really impressed me. We thought maybe he wasn't as experienced against Infernoid.
Yeah.
He proved us wrong.
Yeah.
He played it brilliantly by destroying his own Link Masters to play around Imagination, and we really thought that that was going to happen in Game 3 as well. Even the card we were skeptic about, the Dark Lure No More, worked for him.
Eventually, yeah. But again, like if you saw the matchups before, I felt like Infernoid was at a little disadvantage because their strength of banishing felt a little bit weaker against the true Draco Sky Striker hybrid, but. Yeah, in the long run, Tom played it well, as you mentioned. Like forcing out the negations first in Game 3 especially, and then bam, the last Imagination.
Yeah. You could really see that they both knew what their deck was doing, but of course they both weren't thinking particularly of this exact matchup when walking into the event. We saw multiple times that like Orcust is very popular, and I can see both of these guys like destroying their Orcust opponents.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is the end of Doganay's journey for this event. Still very, very good show up, but Tom, crowd favorite, even if slightly, because they both are very famous players. He's gonna advance 8-2 record, and he's gonna play it out in the last round of Swiss, which we're gonna show you guys in a very few moments. But before that, let's go to JJ for the interview.
I know. Thank you, Marcello. I'm here with Tom. Thank you, Marcello. I am here with Tom. Just finishing off that stunning 2-1 victory over Do. I mean, that's pretty. The last one, like.
It was pretty intense. Yeah. It was pretty intense.
Like, what do you make of it actually? Because it was like he had a lot of gas going for him at that point in time, and you had one Void Imagination that you needed to get resolved. What was your line of thinking then?
I mean, all I was thinking of was like he already had had to destroy my Deviati with this Apocalypse and with his return. So I was like, if he has another trap, I might lose this, and he did. But then he unluckily he chained Ray for his disadvantage, and I had Imagination. So I was pretty lucky that I won this game. I shouldn't have run that, but he played pretty well in game 1 and 2. I think he knew what I'm playing, so he played and prepared against it. But yeah, my hand. Well, terrible. I didn't see any power spell besides game 1, Monster Gate. So yeah, I was pretty lucky, but yeah.
No, but I mean, you still open up with a pretty, bad hand on a bass end. But I mean, just one opening, you were able to push through a whole lot of damage, get your tempo on board, and swing the game to your advantage. So I mean, it's not intentionally like luck per se, but it's sort of like with what you were, what your hand you opened, you made the best of it. I mean. That was a really hard match to play against versus a deck. Have you played a lot against his deck, actually?
Not in the tournament, but a friend of mine who's X11 right now is also playing the deck, and I play tested a lot with him, so I know how the matchup works. And I really did hope that he doesn't know that he has to pop his X2 deck monster with Roll or Apocalypse. Unfortunately, he did, so I'm lucky that I won. Yeah, I'm really lucky.
Well, I mean, you could chalk it up to luck. I've chalked it up for more, knowledge of understanding the timing of being able to pet tempo to your opponent, but you played that extraordinarily well. Do played it as well as he could. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to clinch it out, but you never know. Still the bubble. Anything can happen. Miracles and dreams can happen. But there'll be more live coverage after this.